couple minutes after 10. I think we'll go ahead and get started at the risk of maybe having to start and stop a few times, which I'm okay with. I'm going to go ahead and start the recording of this now. And so welcome everybody. You are attending the Phasis Group educational webinar series. Today's topic is enhanced demographics. And so just as a reminder, we've got a bunch of people on the call, close to 25, if everybody shows up. And as a result, there can be background noise and all sorts of fun like that. So please mute your phone or mute the, if you've enabled the audio controls, mute yourself using GoToMeeting. And there's a little chat box down below. You're welcome to enter questions in there. You're also welcome to unmute yourself and just interject anywhere along the line. I was joking with the staff that we were cramming a 20 minutes worth of information into an hour-long seminar, so I anticipate that we're going to actually not be on the call for the full hour, but I'm more than happy to use as much of that time as you guys want talking about enhanced demographics or even just about our educational webinar series that we're going to be trying to roll out a monthly topic and make that free to all of you guys if you can find the time to join. So just real quick question, does anybody on this call remember when they first stumbled into the demographics in CareTracker and they thought, wow, why did someone lay it out like this? I'm used to this other system, and you know I like putting in the insurance information first, and I'd rather put in the address later and all that good stuff. Does everybody remember when they first stumbled into CareTracker patients demographics field? Hopefully you do, and hopefully you remember that it took some adjusting and some getting used to. The enhanced demographics, it's going to be the same experience for you. My contention is that the way that they have realigned the different items that you frequently use, that it actually is going to make your life easier, or your front desk or whoever spends the most time in the patient portion of demographics, so that's typically front desk and billers. You should be able to see more and do more at one crack. So this is the old demographics screen right here, and let me go into the patient module in the new one, and this is the new demographics screen. So I've got a document here that I've done some screenshots on, kind of side by side. If we look at the new demographics module on top and compare that with the old demographics that are down below, basically what you're seeing is this additional layer here. This additional layer of sub-tabs in this one demographic tab. And then everything else kind of has a similar look. They might have renamed it. And if we look at the main screen, there's the old demographics, right? The old green that we're used to seeing. It's kind of a vertical layout. And if we look at the screenshot from the new demographics, much, much busier. We've put a lot of information onto one page that we didn't have there before, or that we had to scroll down. So let me hop over into the new patient demographics. One thing that I want to share with you is, for me, when I first started working on this, and I've been kind of working in the new demographics for the last week, I was annoyed that I continually had to scroll down like this to see other things. And I quickly learned that if I wanted to change my zoom level down here, I don't know if you guys are seeing my screen size change, but if I change it to like 90%, suddenly I can get everything in there that I want. So just remember that if one of your issues is I like to be able to see things in one shot, you can tweak the zoom level of your screen. Instead of it being 100, you can make it lower, or if you want to bring it back to 100 and you're just fine to scroll, that's fine. One of the things you're going to find is when you're in here and you're working in it, you can tab from field to field and work your way down to the bottom. So the biggest thing is that right here we've got in this middle section, we now have the race, ethnicity, preferred language. We have these items that are meaningful use items are now on the front page. You don't have to click somewhere else to get to them. So if you recall in the old demographics, you had to go to a new tab to see those details. Excuse me, you had to go to a new tab, and if you wanted to click in there, you'd have to click an additional edit. So it kind of became a click fest in order to get the meaningful use criteria for patient demographics in, and that is the #1 reason why demographics has been changed. And then along the way they took a lot of input from schedulers and billers and tried to lay things out in a way that would either give you a view all at once or the ability to get to something quickly. So real quick before I move on and go into a little more in depth as to what some of the different fields are, does anybody have any questions about what we're looking at? Can everybody see the screens okay?
Matt, when does this start? I just got in late. It's Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
No problem. You haven't missed anything. This is about
Okay.
enhanced demographics.
And when does it start? When the gal's going to start seeing it on their screens?
So we actually, and I'll get to a good rollout here. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. So it's going to be mandatory sometime in 2015. But after I've worked in it for a week, I'm thinking you all may want to actually turn it on sooner, because I've found that life is easier with enhanced demographics on, not harder. But it does take a little while to.
But we could start at any time then.
We could turn you on whenever you want. Yep.
Thank you.
And the upside to that is if you turn on before it's mandatory for everybody in CareTracker, it'll be easier for you to get a little one-on-one attention, and
Right.
we'll have more bandwidth to be able to deal with any issues that come up. Plus, if there is an error or something that is really critical, you could always switch back to
Right.
standard demographics until we resolve that issue. So.
Thank you.
You bet. So, but I assume everybody was seeing the screens okay? Maybe I'll pick on somebody. Elena, are you able to see everything okay?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I was able to see everything. Thank you so much.
Excellent. All right. So it's not a huge big difference. And we're going to make these slides available to everybody. So we'll email them out to everybody who was on the call, as well as posting them on our website, so you don't have to jot any notes if you don't want. But there's basically 3 new fields that have been added. We've got method of notification, that's a new field. Date of death is now a new field. And the legal name as well as previous name, it's actually 2 fields, but I crammed them into one because it's the same concept. Those are the new fields. So if we look first at the old demographics, we notice we've got a date of birth, nothing about date of death. We do have phone numbers and we have emails, but there's nothing about a preferred method. You'd have to put notes in there to tell yourself that this is the way the patient wants to be contacted. And lastly, it does have the idea of a nickname, but it does not have the legal name, which for people that are dealing with Medicare and you've got to match the name of the card exactly, this can really help you out quite a bit. So if we pop over into the new demographics, we're going to see that the notification preference is down here. It's kind of in the bottom left. I've highlighted that. And if we wanted to edit our demographics here, it's going to now put me into a pull down. So I can have the choice. Now right now, this preferred method is just reference only to you, so it would allow your staff to know, which is the primary way that the patient wants to be communicated with. There are some ramifications that are coming later relative to new products that are being rolled out for appointment reminders. There's a new product called Clientele that we'll be introducing after the first of the year, and that will allow you to notify patients of upcoming appointments via text. And you might have, it's not a one-size-fits-all world anymore. We do have our young crowd that maybe text message is the way they want to communicate. And then we may have someone who is like, I just want a phone call. And then someone else who may want to deal with it via the patient portal and so on and so forth. With the notification preference, that's going to be a step towards enabling you to communicate automatically using those different products without having to overthink it. The date of death, if we look at that, you notice that I can't actually make the calendar work. Well, actually I was. What did I do with my, click back in here. It's my status, patient status, and right here, when I've got them active, yesterday I wasn't able to, maybe a browser thing, I wasn't able to put in a date of death until I changed that person to deceased, at which point I could put down that they passed away. So that date of death, what that basically is going to do is allow this patient to effectively still be active and still have claims worked, but you're going to know that the patient is deceased, which can help you out a lot of times in situations if you're trying to follow up on billing or other issues after the patient has passed away. It's just nice to be able to know that. And if you, in the old setup, if you inactivated them, then suddenly you can't get to them without jumping through hoops. So that date of death is a nice new addition if your practice has to deal with that type of scenario. And then lastly, we have the concept of the legal and previous name. Now you notice by default, I'm gonna move away and come back. By default, there is no legal name, no previous name, anything like that. But the minute I go into the edit mode, I have the ability to add a legal name if I want, right? And so maybe that is going to be maybe he doesn't have a middle initial, and maybe he's got a suffix, the third, right? And so when I save that, the only annoying thing I've found with this is the save button is all the way at the bottom, so you have to scroll to the bottom. But when I save that, that will then in turn add that legal name to the patient record. I'm having some fun. I think my GoToMeeting's playing with my bandwidth. So trust me, that legal name will be there after I actively save that and be available. So a couple of other things that are different is that I mentioned that fields for meaningful use have changed their location. It's no longer in a separate tab. The other thing that's been added is you've got if you're doing patient photos, those actually can be managed from this main page. Cases used to be, if we look at the old demographics, if you were dealing with cases, which can be very, very important if you're dealing with different payer scenarios like work comp and regular commercial insurance. What you used to have to do for cases is go to the other tab and then work them here. You could never really see them on the main screen. So in the new demographics, what they've basically done is they've peeled off the cases, and instead of you having to be going into the other information and then click into cases, you can see all the cases right off the bat when we click on the Cases tab. And once you're in and you're editing those, this layout looks a little different, but it's exactly the same. If I want to edit that, I can edit the case, and if I want to set it as preferred. So all of this is exactly the same as it was before. It's just how do I get to cases that looks a little different. Okay, The subtabs, I think this is kind of a subtle thing, but you notice in the main screen of demographics, we have these subtabs, one for patient details, practice details, employer, providers, relationships, an assessment, which I don't believe anybody on our channel uses the FQHC assessment. But that now starts to look a lot like our info. And I don't know if everybody on this call realizes that you can be in two places at once, but this info tab is great. You might be in billing, you might be in scheduling, and you might want to look at, well, who is this patient's insurance company, or let me see some of their, I want to look at their insurance card. The info pop-up allows you to basically bring that up without navigating away from where you are. Demographics, the enhanced demographics, when it was put together, they put it together in a fashion that masked or mirrored this info tab. So just realize that we've got patient details, practice details, employer, insurance, providers, relationships, those are all here. And you're welcome to click in and see these. This would be where we'd activate the patient for the patient portal. That was in practice details. You can add employers. Instead of those getting added at the bottom of the main screen, you would manage those separately. Similarly with providers that used to be on the other tab, you can manage all the providers in one place. Providers that are added through billing and through the electronic medical record will automatically find their way to this page, but you can come in and you can manage them further by removing them, changing their relationship, how they're initiated with how they're associated with the patient. And then, of course, the relationships, which is basically are there any family members, are there emergency contacts, attorneys, schools, pharmacies. That's over here on the relationships page. So I'm sure what's going to happen is that at first, when you're used to looking at this and suddenly you have to look instead at this, that your staff is going to go, wait a minute, this is just, it's different and it's taking me longer. I agree. At first, it definitely will take you longer, but I found that I actually got more efficient as I was using it, and I got used to where things were looking. Okay, one last little thing, and then we can talk about when things are being rolled out and answer any questions you have. In the old demographics, I don't know how many people were aware of it, but we've got this little print patient report icon right up here. And when you print that, what you're going to get is a fairly nice looking formatted sheet that some practices were printing and handing to the patient and asking them to make changes on that so that they could update the demographics. I think other practices had other use for that as well. And then if we go to the current or the enhanced demographics, the new demographics module, you don't see that print icon, but what you see is this summary button with a printer next to it. So clicking that basically gets me to the new enhanced demographic summary. Now, my comment on this is it doesn't look formatted. It's certainly nothing I'd want to send outside of the practice, but it is extremely comprehensive. And so you notice how it went from one page and had just the things that were on the main page to multiple pages, including old insurance that might be no longer active, all the providers, all sorts of goodies potentially. So I just wanted you all to be aware that that summary page is different. And if you are currently using that summary page for a specific use, then you might consider if that existing, if the enhanced demographic summary doesn't fill the bill for you, you might consider making use of letters to put together whatever information it was that you were interested in having the patient look at. So for example, I could print a patient registration form from the patient file. This is something I can hand the patient and have them update or sign or something like that. So just be aware that if that summary isn't meeting your needs, a letter probably will fill the bill. And I'm hoping that they actually make some changes to the summary and allow you the ability to modify that a little bit, kind of similar to what we have in medical records. No idea if they'll get there, but just wanted you all to be aware that summary and the print icon are a little bit different. Okay, so why don't I stop now before I talk about when this is going to roll out and see if we have any questions. I know it's not the most complicated information.
Yeah, I have a question. For the providers where under their name it showed their specialty, or it showed what, like I said, internal medicine or you know, urology or whatever, how
Right.
does that get inputted? Is that something that's defaulted, or do we have an option to put that in there?
No, so it pulls from the provider record. And so I don't know if any of you have ever used the knowledge base and kind of searched for providers. But let's look at, Elena, let's look at your doc. Oh, I did it wrong, didn't I? So here's Kim Vanderveen. And if we look at their 360 view here, is it going to load? There we go. Where they have specialty, I believe, let's see if that plays out, is where we would see that. So let's add, that's funny how I went to the old to do it. Okay, and let's add a provider here. New provider. Pull in Kim, save her. All right. Oh, and so it is not pulling from that. All right, so that's a great question. So, Elena, thank you for asking that question. It's not what I thought it was. So I'm going to run down the answer to that and
Okay.
and see if we can get back to you on exactly where that is coming from.
Yeah, because I think that's a great thing to have right there, to know, because it's kind of hard when people come in and they have 5 different doctors to know what doctor's taking care of what problem. So thank you for answering.
And my guess is it's going to be pulling from the database somewhere, but if you do have some control over it, that would be great. So we're talking about provider specialty. Good question. Thank you
All
for
right,
asking.
thank you. Yep, thanks.
All right, other questions? Any other things that that piqued your interest?
Are you going to go into the EMR?
Nope, I was not planning on going into the EMR because in the EMR, there's no change.
My question then is, in the EMR, under the doctor's notes, there's a section where you have to put race, and race. Do you still have to fill that out if you're doing it on the demographics page?
So I'm going to see. So I'm going to ask if Miranda knows the answer to that, and if not, I'm going to end up getting back to you. My assumption is that would pull from what you've done on the demographics page.
It has not pulled. It has not pulled from there. So I don't know. Yeah, if you guys can find out for me, I appreciate it.
From a meaningful use calculation standpoint, it needs to be done in the demographics.
Good. So we don't have to worry about the record part.
Yeah, not in the patient's chart. So other than your docs, Nancy, I'm not familiar with anybody that's doing it in the EMR side.
Thank you. So I'll tell Karen to stop doing it. Okay.
But I'll clarify that. I mean, I thought we addressed that once, but I've forgotten. So let me go back and find that out.
Okay, thank you.
Nancy, this is Brad. Are you trying to pull that into a progress note is what you're talking about?
It goes into the program, right. We thought for meaningful use you have to put it in, but if we're doing in demographics, we're duplicating our efforts.
Correct, yes.
I'm going through right now doing all these race and non-Hispanic and whatever. And so why does Karen have to do it in the progress report if I'm doing it in the demographics?
She doesn't.
Okay, so they'll take that out then eventually so it's not confusing?
Correct. We can take a look at that progress note that you're using and take it out.
Yeah, let's see if it's a placebo.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, I just want to make sure we're meaningful use. So,
yeah.
sorry,
So the trigger. So thank you for asking. That's a great question, Nancy. So the trigger is not in the medical record. It is in demographics, and that was one of the reasons why on the patient details they moved it to this screen so that, at least in theory, your front desk can collect that information, or whoever it is that's collecting it. You might have a phone triage or somebody who's setting up these new patients. At the same point where they're putting in their vital contact information, they can also put that in without having to juggle two screens. That's the whole.
I'll have to point that out to the group because it's a hassle going from one screen to the other because I've been doing that. So thank you for changing it. So.
You bet. You bet. Okay, other questions? Those are both great so far. Elena, we'll get back to you, and Nancy will confirm about that template.
Well, actually, I do have a question along the same lines as the last one. When we're editing, like, say, addresses, telephone numbers in the demographics, you know, it has that auto-population, you know, for the rest of the family, that option that it allows you to do. Ours has never worked, and I don't know if that's the case for everybody else. I'm wondering, is that something that was fixed in this update?
Well, so I know that the copy works for me. I actually used it when I was playing around both in the old and new demographics. So my suspicion is that it is not actually a CareTracker function, but more of a compatibility view type of settings in your browser. What I would say is let's try it right now. It's a great thing to look at, and let's see both in the old and new. If I wanted to do the copy, so let's talk me through. Is this Steve?
Oh,
It's Steve.
actually, when we, let's say, change the home address to a new zip code,
Okay. So let's do that. 80127, and we're going to do a new zip code.
Already deactivate and then do it.
There we go, Littleton. You prefer me to deactivate and do a new one?
That's how we've been doing it, but maybe I'm doing it wrong.
No, there's both ways could get the job done. Your way actually is better, because then I've got a record of it.
now with the new one, once you put the zip code in it, is it going to automatically populate the city and state?
Yep, I'll show you that. So the only thing that's changed is right now there's the ellipsis button that I have to click on the new demographics. There is, if I edit this, there is a, right here, match zip. So when I put in a zip, I click that button, it'll look it up. Similar to if I put in a zip here, and I hit the ellipsis.
Okay, now on here, when we hit save and you go to a family member, it may have deactivated the old address, but it will not put the new one in.
Okay, so when I hit save here, so here's a copy down here. This is to pull in that person up top if you wanted this information to also be the same as the insurance. You can click the copy there, but let's just click save. So now what I'm getting is this pop-up, right? So this is the pop-up we'd want to make sure we've got happening. So I'm going to say, you know what? It's across the board. Update everything. Okay. And let's go home. Let's come back. This is in the old, right? And so let's go to edit, so we see all those.
But did that go to all the family members?
No, what it did is it inactivated my billing. How exciting is that? And I don't know if I have family members, so that's interesting. All right, I'd love to play around with that. Let's go look at,
It won't.
at the
It
new
hasn't
one.
worked forever, so.
Okay. And Cheryl, if you're on the call and you want to weigh in on that at all, by all means do. But let's go to, that's the old, just loaded. Let's go to Johan. What I noticed is that if I wanted to,
I know Johan does have family members.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's change. Let's deactivate this.
Let's deactivate. Okay. Clip it out, or can you see deactivate?
I am not. So let's see. I really think my darn GoToMeeting's messing this up a little bit because it was working so lovely for me before. Yep, I'm not. I'm going to have to play with this. So, Lena, let me play with this off the call, and I'll send out findings to the whole group. So this is copy function.
Matt, you may want to get out of compatibility view.
Oh, yeah. Didn't even notice I was in. Thank you, Bruce. Let's see if this makes a difference. So I want to deactivate, there we go, deactivate the home. Oh, much better. I want to add a new one. Thank you, Bruce. Compatibility view. All right, and so now we're going to say this is actually a new home address. And 123 Main Street. New address, just so I know what I'm doing, 80403. Here I'm going to look up. So that's the same as the ellipsis. And let me go ahead and save. Do you want to change the address of Annie? Yes, I do. Let's see if it works. All right. Okay, so let's just, for kicks and giggles, there's Annie. Billing address, home address, I don't see that it updated it. It did, in fact, update our address. So that shows some promise. Our Montana contingent that does pediatrics, that has a lot of people in the same family. So it gives me some hope that maybe that will help solve a problem there.
So you have to go back out and go back in to get that to change.
I just went actually to her patient record, so it's just a refresh issue.
Okay.
If we go back to Johan, I don't know what we're going to see there, because it's just kind of a scrape. You notice how it's not really the full record there, it's just a link to hers. And see that billing, that home address is still blank. So it might just be what I'm able to see, but we definitely saw in her record here I do the same thing. Look at that. It must be something to do with the info pop-up, because we definitely have, oh no, there's an issue. Look at that. That's blank and that's good. Well, I'm glad you guys are asking this. This is awesome. Somehow I didn't inactivate that properly. This will be exciting. I'm blowing it up. All right, so that's good stuff to work on. So I'll play around with that after the call and kind of report to the group what I found relative to relationships and changing addresses. Excellent questions, guys. You get bonus points. What else do we have for questions?
Does that mean we get 10% off our bill?
I think that means when it comes to the question section where we have the surcharge, it's going to be no charge.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I actually think you should give her this seminar for free.
That I could do. We could do, or at least at a discount.
Yeah.
I have one more question. So when we are in the old demographics and we're typing in people's phone numbers, in the notes we are just typing in what number is their best contact.
Yes.
Would there be a spot like that in the new enhanced demographics?
So it's the concept of that preferred method. So let's pop over to that. So where we have down here, and you've got all the phone numbers and all of that, this is their preferred method right there.
Okay, so and we won't be able to put like what phone number if they have like a home phone, a cell phone, and a work phone. How will we be able to kind of keep that stuff straight?
You still can. So what you used to do is still there. Okay. So there's the phone notes field here is exactly the same as the notes field. So you can continue using that all you want.
Okay, perfect. And then one more. Okay. Will we be able to put in a spouse phone, like a spouse's phone number in there as well, or would that be under other as it was before?
Probably other, but let's take a peek. So let's add a phone number. Yeah, it's just not like my pop-ups. All right. Please wait. And so business, home, international, mobile, other, pager, provider. So one of the things I'll ask is on phone types, if that could be.
That would be very good.
Phone type, spouse's phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good, just so that we know that it's their spouse and it's not, especially since we're kind of limited on the phone notes, how much we can put in there. Like if it's their home phone and they have a spouse and it's okay to leave detailed messages, all that stuff, so we can kind of fit everything without having to use too many abbreviations.
Okay.
We ought to ask if you can put in a user-defined field there.
I just want to see how many. That's like 40. I don't know how many more characters we need than that. Only one active type is to the address. What did I do wrong? I still have my work billing to billing. Wow, I'm stuck in something. So, all right, good question though. So phone type, I'll see if we can get that added. And I'm going to have to figure out what I did to destroy this. I think one of the downsides is I'm using like our #1 test patient. Annie Bach has got this would be the patient that has the chart, if it were paper, that took up the whole row of the filing cabinet. Okay, great question so far, guys. You should be commended. Other questions? No? Okay, so let's take a quick peek at when is this actually going to be something that you need to deal with. So Optum is planning on rolling these out kind of channel by channel in early 2015. So my best guess is that before the end of February, you guys are going to all be on advanced demographics. And if we wait until it's mandatory, what's going to happen is you're just going to wake up, you're going to log in, and it's going to be different, and you're going to be working on their schedule. My recommendation would be to, if you want to show your staff, just ask for a support. Ask support for a login to the training company. You can go into the training company. That's where we were doing the demos on Annie Bach. You can go in and you can play around with the enhanced demographics a little bit here, a little bit there. Once you get everybody in your office who at least is, has seen it and knows where things are, ask us to turn it on. And we can turn it on at any point before it's mandatory. And if there's something that's critically wrong, we can always set it back. But my guess is once you start using it, it's just a matter of understanding what the differences are. So we're recommending that you guys pick a date and do this proactively on your own where you're in control of which day of the week it was. You can pick the day of the week where you've got the most people in but the least amount of patients or whatever works for you. And that way it's not being stuffed down your throat on somebody else's schedule. Anything, Miranda, do you want to add anything to that? Because I know
I do have a question that we probably should clarify, and it was my understanding that in order to implement the new clientele, which is the reminder call option as opposed to the current Televox, that you had to have enhanced demographics activated. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that was it wouldn't always just call the home phone. We could set it up to send text messages or call the preferred number. So if anybody's looking at doing the new patient reminder type of clientele, which I think is going to be coming in the next 6 weeks or so, enhanced demographics would have to be part of that process.
Right. So great point. And clientele, watch the news for that. Also watch for our blasts. We'll let people know when clientele would be something you could consider. It's very close right now. And as Miranda said, if you do want to move to that, you'd have to turn on enhanced demographics. But sooner or later, enhanced demographics have to be on anyway. So my thought is do it on your schedule. Don't do it on somebody else's. Okay, other questions?
Do you want to talk about just a reminder about the support queue instead of emails?
Yeah, excellent. So everybody who is on this call has at some point or another been in a panic and they've sent an email with like, hey, I need help with X, Y, and Z. And I just wanted to remind people that your fastest, most surefire way to get a response is using the to-do system. So when you're submitting a to-do to us, just be aware that we're not going to be in the pull down. We're not going to be here as an operator, right? You're not going to see Phasis support. But if you change the category here from inter-office, which it defaults to the support center, then we're going to get it automatically. It's going to the queue that is called the support center, and that is something that we have multiple people monitor and look at, and that's your best bet to make sure you get information. So what we recommend is anytime you do have an issue is at a minimum log it to do, and then if it is urgent and you need other things, then by all means text us, call us, email, the things that you need to do, but don't do that reaching out to us without the to-do, because it kind of ties our hands a little bit, ends up taking longer to respond, and we may not have all the pieces we need. What else did you want to add around that, Miranda?
Just more importantly, that it's not that we don't want to be available. It's just as we go on site and we're doing work or training with other clients, if you send an email, it may not get urgent attention. Most definitely if, you know, I have occasions where a client has a patient in front of them and they want some help, you know, logging into the portal or doing something like that, that's absolutely acceptable, why we've got that time constraint, because if I answer my phone, then obviously I'm available. But if we're just sending emails to me or Matt or Brad or Cheryl or Love, anybody on our team, it may not get the urgent attention that it should, as opposed to if it goes to the queue.
If it goes to the queue, it definitely will get someone who's dedicated to looking at and resolving those issues to look at it. So to Miranda's point, I got an email over the weekend and looked at it on my phone and said, all right, I'll deal with that on Monday, and then promptly Monday forgot about it. And it wasn't until I got a follow-up email on Tuesday that it even hit my radar. And had this been sent as a to-do to the queue, first thing Monday morning, Cheryl would have been on it and asking me about the details, and it would have probably been resolved by noon on Monday instead of here it is Wednesday and we're still struggling to get it resolved because of just the simple fact that it didn't start in a to-do. So, yep, good point, Miranda. Thank you. I'm totally surprised. It's gone more than 20 minutes. So I think that's because you guys have asked really, really good questions. Are there any other questions or comments?
Anybody have any suggestions about future of these educational webinars that we're trying to commit to doing once a month?
It's a good idea.
Thanks, Nancy.
Yep. Well, I think one of the thoughts I had, Miranda, is to kind of come up with a list of the topics we wanted. We know that next month it's going to be about the new encounter form, which you know, it's been the new encounter and the old encounter form have been part of the CareTracker release for almost a year now. But the changes that are looming relative to ICD-10, as well as just the annual change in CPT codes and things like that, it's going to make this year's tweaking of your encounter forms just a lot more involved. And so we wanted to get a head start in December and make sure that everybody had a shot to look at that. And then what we hope to do is have you know, come up with half a dozen other topics that, depending on how much interest you all let us know you have in them, we'll do those monthly. And then hopefully next spring or summer we'll have a conference in Denver that y'all can show up for if you want in person, and we'll have a little more intensive, all of that free as a way to try and get you guys more educational opportunities. Okay, anything else? Great questions. You guys turned a boring topic into something very useful. I appreciate it. Nothing? Okay, well, thank you everybody for attending. We hope to see you on next month's webinar, which will be about the new encounter form. And if you have any questions, please send it to support. And I'm going to follow up. I'll work with Tony and our team to follow up. We've got the provider specialty question. We have the special scenario where there was that meaningful use race ethnicity tab for your practice, Nancy. We'll follow up on the copy functionality that is not working in the old, and I'll test it a little bit more to make sure that at least so you know whether to expect it to be an improvement or not. And then the phone type question to see if we can get spouse's phone added. Anything else that you guys need me to follow up on that I didn't mention?
That's good, but I just need to remember I need to get a hold of support. If we have an office want to try this new demographics page? We just do it for a time frame, or is it always on our computer under CareTracker, not
Good
up in
Another great question. So when we turn on the advanced or enhanced demographics, it's an all or nothing proposition for everyone in your practice.
Okay.
So if we were to turn it on, you're all there. But what we have, if you want to dip your toe in it, not necessarily in a live environment, if you want a login to the training database does have the new demographics there. So one thought is, if you did get that training database login and you asked everybody in your office to log in and at least kind of check it out a little bit so it wasn't totally a surprise.
So it has to be everybody on one day, or can they do it at their own time on different days?
They can do the training anytime they want, but when we turn it on for your practice, it's everybody or nobody.
Right, right. But the training, they can do it on their time.
Exactly. Yep.
As long as they have a login.
Correct.
Okay, so I just have to, okay.
And
Thank you.
I would say just get like an RMGO login, one login, because it's, you're just everybody's gonna use it for 5 minutes and move on.
But okay, I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, if there's not anything else, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your attendance, and we look forward to seeing you on future webinars.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hey, Miranda, I have a quick question.